How's it going, y'all? So I'm out here at my workshop, been tinkering on a few things, been busy, and I got to looking at some stuff I have put up. And if you're going to do this whole self-reliant thing, it's good to look at something real hard before you throw it away. Could I do something else with this later on, even if it may not be the thing that you're like, well, I could just replace this with this. Think outside the box. So on my house and my other building that I have on my property, a lot of screen doors, a lot of screen doors, a lot of screen windows. And up here in the rafters of this workshop, I store a lot of stuff up here. I've got old doors and pipe and old fishing poles and siding, and I got a big old cast net right there. Um, just like it's a hand place to store stuff. And I got looking up, and I was like, I got a lot of that screen. I can do something with that. I've been looking at alternative ways of preserving food, particularly meat and mushrooms, aside from canning. The reason being that when we're going to do some canning, I do a lot of canning. I really don't like fooling around with pressure canner. I like water bath canning, but the issue with that being that water bath canning doesn't really work on stuff very, very well unless it is very acidic. There is a risk, whenever you can something, of botulism. If it has touched dirt anywhere on this planet, if it has touched dirt, there's a chance you can get botulism. All right? That's just how it is. Going off of that, if you don't can stuff properly, you can allow botulism to grow. Entire point of canning being that you either put it in an acidic enough environment, raise the pH level to where the botulism cannot grow, or put it into a high heat, like pressure canning situation, in which the heat penetrates deep enough into everything long enough that it cooks all the bacteria out of everything and it kills everything that's in it. I do both. I don't like to fool around pressure canner, but I do that. So the issue here is you can't really safely, 100% of the time, water bath can meats. You can pickle meats, pickled fish. I mean, everybody's heard like pickled herring. Look it up. People improperly pickling herring. You're looking at a risk. People get sick off that. In my opinion, for both ease of use and safety, dehydrating meats is a better option. Also, I mentioned mushrooms. Mushrooms, in my experience, they don't can very well unless you pickle them, which is fine. But if you don't want pickled mushrooms, well, then you've kind of messed yourself up there. So then we talk about, okay, how do we dry our meat out? In very cold, windy environments, they'll just hang stuff up. I live down here in a very humid, warm environment. I ain't gonna do. I can't do like North Scandinavia and just hang stuff out and let it air dry, freeze dry. Wish I could. I would love that, but can't do it. It gets plenty hot here. It gets plenty hot enough. I mean, you can absolutely dehydrate your food here. It just takes a little more to it. So when you dehydrate your food, you're taking all of the moisture out of it. Everybody's had beef jerky, from the gas station, whatever. You can do the same with fish. You can dry fish. You can dry lean fish, I will say. Your fatty fish, just same as your fatty meats. Like, you don't make bacon jerky. Like, you buy it from the store and it's preserved and all that. Bacon jerky, fatty fish jerky is going to go rancid on you. You want to get the fat stuff off. But your lean meats, you're eliminating the rot and you're eliminating the environment in which the bacteria and mold and stuff can grow by removing the moisture. They require moisture in order to populate. So you dehydrate something, instead of having to break out that pressure canner, dehydrate it, stick it in an airtight environment. That can be a Ziploc bag. You can stick them in mason jars, and you have preserved food that you can then either eat as is or rehydrate. You can absolutely take, I've done this quite a lot of times, and we'll do this on video at some point. You can take your dried meat and tear it up and throw it into a stew and stuff like that, and you can rehydrate it and cook it. Pemmican is a good example of that too, that like take your dried meat and mix it up with rendered tallow type fat. It's never going to go bad. Super high calorie food, and lots of cultures in all over the world will take a preserved food like that, particularly in the Americas, and make a stew out of it. Take a chunk of pemmican like that, throw it in a pot. You have a stew, basically, a soup. So to that end, I was looking at these screens and I was like, I got a way to dehydrate stuff. I know what I'm gonna do. If you never fooled around putting up screen siding, screen doors, screening in a porch, nothing to it. It's just these little like metal connectors. You'll typically buy these as is. You can take and like crimp this stuff in here yourself. Now I could take and cut this out with a knife, or these little corners will generally, this one's old, just pop off. See? And I can start getting that screen out of there. So I took the screen out of one of these doors. That's all that is. Just the one big screen. And the reason you need the screen for what we're going to do, plenty hot. Right now, I mean, it's a temperate day. It's I think the high day 72 down here in South Alabama. My storage shed, that one's storage shed, this workshop. I'm confusing myself. But almost everything I have except for my house has a tin roof, a corrugated metal roof. And I can see the heat. It looks like the top of a barbecue grill. You can see the air distortion from the heat rising off of that, and it ain't even 72 yet today. So imagine when it gets to be, like 110 out here, there's going to be some heat coming off them things. All right, so the big worry I have with dehydrating stuff using the sun is bugs. I live in the swamp. There's bugs. Okay, so how do we combat that? We cover stuff up. And, you can buy all kinds of, I've seen a lot like hanging, like they're like, mesh, like laundry baskets with shelves and stuff where you can put stuff in there. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're doing this, in this case, for free. And I'm sure you can find a screen door somewhere that has this flexible screen. You could do this potentially with, you could do it with like different kinds of metal screening, but like this really flexible, it's like a plastic material. This is going to work real well. All I'm going to do with this, I thought about building all kinds of box frames and stuff, and I was like, no, let's keep it more simple than that. I'm going to take this and fold it in half as I have here. Just fold it in half. Step back to where you can see what I'm doing. Took that big old long piece, folded it in half from tall end to tall end. Make the rectangle a square. As so. Then, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to turn it over. Get along this seam where I have it. This is my open end. This is where it's folded. I'm going to fold it again. You're folding laundry. That's it. So now, it'll fight you a little bit, but you can get it there. So now I just have this rectangular double-walled bag. You could probably make like crawdad traps and stuff like this pretty easy out of this same material. But so now, all I'm going to do, so I'm going to fold this up. You see there's all kinds of holes in this to where you don't need no special tools for it. You can make these any size. I'm just making a big one. Take me a needle and thread. And I'm going to just sew along two sides. Alright, y'all. I'm out here. You can tell I've been working on stuff. Oh, I got to be back against this post here. This is actually an old chair that we pulled out of a junkyard, and it is actually a helicopter seat, an old helicopter seat. And I've been meaning to make a proper chair out of it for a long time, but I just ain't done it yet. It's a good chair, but it's made of metal. But the way it's made is meant to be bolted to the floor of the helicopter, and so if you don't have something behind you, it'll tip over backwards with you. But so I'm just going to take my thread, and I ain't doing nothing fancy here. Obviously. I ain't doing nothing but just enough of a whip stitch to where it will hold together. By the way, if anybody ever wondered, same as with my business, with anything, a lot of people like to do like the bushcrafty thing and like tear apart catfish line, bank line, as a lot of people like to call it. And you can do that, and I've done that, and it works well. But for the money and for, unless you want something to be a load bearing thing, for me, the best money you can spend on thread is, this is Coates and Clark brand. You buy it at Walmart. It is button and craft thread. I can't really break this with my fingers. If you double that up, how strong is that? And it is 50 yards for less than $2. That's what I use in my leather craft from a store. You just can't beat it to me. But so I'm just getting one of my side seams. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to start at the open end. And I'm just going to pull that through. Stitch through a second time. Take my tail end, pull it over this way. Line my stitch up. Ain't no harvest strand on me. Get out of here, buddy. And I'm going to pull that tight. Then I'm going to go through there, run another stitch through it. Again, take my tag end, pull it through that loop again. So all I've done is basically lay that tag end down and sew around it 2 times in the same hole. Pull that tight, and that knot there ain't gonna come undone. And then it goes pretty quickly from there. I whip stitch the end on to connect it, but I'll be honest with you, I think I'm just going to do a running stitch, which just means I'm going to go, for those who don't sew, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go in and out, and in and out, and in and out. That's it. I think that's going to be the trick. I think that's going to be the way to do it. So let me get up here closer to you so you can see what I'm doing. I've secured that on the end, and I'm just going in, out, in, out, back and forth. Same way that you'd sew up your blue jeans, your whatever. They don't tick trying to get on me. Like I said, these bugs, they out here. I'll tell you what else I'm going to do is, just for the added safety, I'm going to stick that tail end in here. You see, I'm just running my stitch. That's the whole thing. It ain't got to be perfect. Blame sure ain't going to be perfect. All we're doing is connecting these 2 sides, as you can see. So let me sit here and run all the way to the end. I'm just going to run it all the way to the end, all the way back, tie it off. If I got to splice in another piece, just tie it off in the middle, go from there. But I'll be back with you here in a minute, and we'll show you what we got. All right, y'all, and 10 minutes later. So I decided to just do a single running stitch on each side. The reason being is I did the first one and like ran my hand in here. Nothing's getting through there anyway. Anything that is small enough to get through these stitches up here is small enough to get through the mesh anyway. So I figured those just better to save time and just go with a single running stitch. So I just stitched from the beginning as I showed you previously. Just ran it all the way down and then ran it over and looped it over and tied it off the exact same way. So what we have made is just a double layered mesh bag. Now you can get on Google and you can see all these like big solar dehydrators that are like boxes with, you know, plastic lining, black plastic lining on the inside, mesh tops, lift lids, which is awesome. I mean, that's cool, and like to make that purpose-built thing, I'd love to have one. I might build one day. But again, we're going quick and easy. So what do I do with this? I take any of my tin roofs. I'm probably going to use my smokehouse because that's just, I don't have to get up on a step stool or a ladder to reach on top of my smokehouse, but it has a tin roof. All right. Part of the point of that is I brought a piece out here to show you. You see how that has that corrugation? It does this. What does that do? That provides the airflow that you're wanting underneath all your food. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take either a piece of tin. You don't need to have a structure. You could take a piece of tin like this, which you can find on the side of the road. You can find it at a scrapyard. It's not hard to find this. You could buy it new if you wanted to. But I'm going to take a piece like that, or one of my structures. I'm going to take my food. I'm going to lay my bag out flat. So I can just stick my food. I can just lay it all out. And as you can see, like just using one screen, I mean, I could take a whole roast and make deer jerky out of that. I could take a whole neck roast and do that. Or any other piece. So I'm going to lay it flat. I'm going to lay my food out. I'm going to lay it on top of my whatever it may be. Whatever piece of tin. I want to lay it in the sun where it's going to get a lot of sun for a long time. Alright? Then, all I'm going to do is when it's laid flat, obviously it's not going to be up like this, but I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. I'm not doing any kind of fancy. I'm not installing a zipper on this thing or nothing like that. You could. I'm not going to. What am I going to do? It's right here. I'm going to fold that in half and lay a piece of wood with a rock or something on top of it. A couple bricks, doesn't matter. Something to hold that edge flat. And with that edge held flat like that, folded under, I now have a sealed space where my food, the air will circulate. It's double layered on both sides, these pieces of mesh. It is going to sit the ambient heat and the airflow from those tin roofs. Ain't gonna take no time to dry most anything, depending on how flat, how tiny you cut it. Because that is another point, and we'll do another video showing how to use this. How thin and trimmed up and like, it depends on what you're making. If you're making jerky, the big beef steak pieces, this probably isn't gonna be great for that. Like, you know, people take like lean ground meat and extrude them. You could do that in this. That's going to take a while. I like to take my whole meat and just very thin slice it. People complain about that being tough. If you cut it with the grain, yeah, it's going to be tough. If you cut against the grain, just like if you're making steak at home, not going to be that tough. But making those really thin pieces, if I'm going to do fruit, I'm going to cut it super, super thin. I'm going to make like little peach rings or apple rings. If I do mushrooms, I'm not going to put whole mushrooms in here. I'm going to slice them thin, and that's just going to increase that surface area and decrease your drying time. But very quick, easy, possibly basically free project. You know, how much money did I just save going out and buying a dehydrator that would hold that much food? So I thank y'all so much for joining me. Also, by the way, not using it, folds up easy for storage. I appreciate y'all so much for joining me for this quick video on how to make a very easy, quick DIY food preservation project. And again, we'll make something with this here pretty soon. But until then, I appreciate y'all so much, and I'll see y'all in the next video.